All right. Okay, I like this. We won't spend a lot of time on this because we overtalked a few of our other topics. But okay, I like this idea here. Okay, when we were kids, with you played video games, and not even kids. Let's talk about high school. Let's go to high school. I remember being in high school and really trying to hide the fact that I was a gamer from people, or that I like watch Dragon Ball Z. My brother would be like, "Yeah, my brother goes home and watches Dragon Ball Z all afternoon long," and I'd be like, "Man, let's keep that down." You know,
Easy, Josh.
Easy, pal. Yeah, thanks, Josh. But you know, now nerd culture is pop culture, and one of those things that nerddom has become so big, and
it's mainstream now, man.
Right, and so wide that it is mainstream. But what do you think makes and defines a true nerd? Right, there are a lot of people who are not nerds. Like, oh, I want to go see Captain America: Civil War. Years ago, that'd have been like, I'm not going to see some stupid hero movie. But I think Marvel's changed that now. Like, hey, you know, so what defines a nerd, and does it bother you that these things we've loved for so long? And you know, I heard a dad. You know, I get to I work with kids at a church. Right, well, I know that we don't usually say what we do outside of here, but I work with kids at a church, and so I love the fact that this dad comes in and his kid's wearing a Star Wars shirt on the weekend.
Like you are right now.
Or like I am right now. And so I was like, hey, dude, love your shirt, man. Gave him a high five. His dad's like, my kid's so lucky, man. I had to wear those to bed only when I was a kid. People make fun of me for my Star Wars T-shirt out in public. And I was like,
true.
Me and you both, dude. And so he's a little bit, and I think that ties in with our question. He's a little bit salty because he's like,
because it's cool now.
He's like, man, it wasn't cool then. I didn't get girlfriends. Now there's a bunch of, scantily clad women at Comic-Con. It's just like, by the way, don't date scantily clad women at Comic-Con. But yeah. So what do you think about that? What first question? What truly defines a nerd? Like when you see somebody, you're like, hey, you get it. Like what bonded all of us as bros, as brothers, where we're like, hey, we're nerdy. We're going to start a podcast and talk to ourselves.
And our 28 and our 20-something.
Well, at least we're talking to ourselves with other people now instead of at home.
In person is great.
This is great.
I haven't seen the sun in weeks. No, I will say, to answer your first question, I got to tell you, who are young professionals? Kids who grew up playing Super Nintendo.
This is true. That is very true.
I think it was a totally different thing. I mean, think about what it was like to try and be a video game nerd when really all you had was like Commodore 64 and Pong growing up. I mean, it's cool. It's a video game, but the stuff that you did to pass time was just looked totally different. And now, like, look at your movies that are winning a ton of Oscars. Look at your stuff that's dominating the box office. It's all nerd movies. It's all comic book stuff. It's all Return of the King. The year it came out, won 12 Oscars.
Right.
Like this is like a huge fantasy nerd thing that people just made fun of until it's like,
and it's because you have the people in power with money willing to put the money up for that.
Absolutely.
And I also think because once again, let's go back to what you just said. I think it's so important. I think all young professionals and even just professionals of the day right now, they had the source material as kids.
Absolutely.
And they read that, they played that, they whatever. You got to think of our parents' generation. They didn't have, they had comics, but it
was very limited.
Old school comics.
It's very limited. But I think you got that 70s.
And we grew up with the internet too.
I was gonna say that 70s, 80s, 90s gap right there really was just this inundated with technology and information and comics and movies and. It started back like 89 Batman, right? Like 89 Batman, when it came out, Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, everybody's blown away. Dude, that movie was the highest grossing movie that year. And everybody was blown away with it. And I think from there, you've kind of seen it slowly trek up where it's now, it's like, oh, man, Star Wars. You see,
it's pretty much all that gets, any traction or traffic nowadays.
Yeah.
But and the only other thing that I'll say about just fun like nerd culture and like you talk about things that like bonded us, literally the reason that me and Will even became friends was because I was walking by him in the office hallway one day and heard him mention something about Mass Effect 2.
Yep.
And it just happened to be like my favorite game. And so these two people who honestly are different in a lot of ways, very different personalities, different walks of life, different things like that. We're able to come together, and then like a lot. That's kind of a lot of what bonded us with you too, Mike. When you kind of came into the friend group, is that common bond of even with you. Like, what did we do? We played Mass Effect 3 multiplayer a few weeks ago. We just said, it's something we all bond over. But
you know what's funny about Mass Effect, dude, is whenever I think of nerd, and this is always stuck in my head. I'm not really sure if it's the true definition, but I always remember reading that like a nerd is somebody who does one thing and that's it. Like that's the
Right.
only thing they're interested
That's
in. You know,
interesting.
where
Yeah.
like Trevor is really into Lord of the Rings. I think it originated with like computer nerds who that's all they would do is
Right.
play with computers. Nowadays because there's so much, like so many video games, like you're not
Big variety.
Like, look at the Commodore 64 and the 6 games that maybe you had if you were rich. Like,
Right.
they were like $80 a piece 35 years ago, man.
Yeah.
That got me so good. That you may have had if you were rich. I mean, if I'm not
so
mistaken, and you know what, I'm going to use the power of the internet at my fingertips right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Let me
but
tell you the
I'm
story
gonna look it
about
up.
Mass Effect, dude. So
I'm
you're
gonna-
gonna crack this. You're talking about talking about stuff that like is nerdy and whatever. I was at a bar with a friend of mine that I knew in high school. When we were in college, we were at Proof Brewery in Tallahassee, and we were with this other guy. And you're gonna laugh. Guess what his name is, dude? Just the
His actual name.
his actual name.
Shepard.
No, not Mass Effect. But what would be the weirdest name?
Garrus Vicarian?
No, his name was Sergio.
Sergio.
Promise you,
Get
man.
outta
It's
here,
the only
man.
time I ever talked to
Sergio.
this guy. He was friends with my friend. Anyway,
Sergio.
we're drinking and we're hanging out outside the bar, talking, and we're literally just talking about Mass Effect, talking about the romance options, the missions. Our other
Talk
friend
later,
Kyle
Williams.
is gone. He's like inside talking to women. He's
Having a social life.
being an adult, and we're literally like getting way into this. And for me, that was one of the first times I felt that I was really able to talk to somebody who was into that stuff as much as me, because I definitely grew up the same way as Will. Not that I was ashamed of it, but
You kind
I
of kept
was-
it under wraps
A little
when
bit,
you were
yeah.
at Little
It's
League
like-
practice.
It's like, oh, I play video games, but I don't play video games that much. It's
Right.
I could take it or leave it,
Right.
But I love pretty much everything in that environment, and yeah, that's the reason that I'm probably friends with you guys, is because we're all kind of into that. Especially Trevor. I mean, to see how like unashamedly a fan of Lord of the Rings you are.
Absolutely,
man. It's pretty funny, but
Right.
It's inspiring to me.
So I just looked it up, just so you guys know. This is an article off IGN.com. When you talk about nerds, and I forgot how we really got into this thing about pricing points of games. But the real cost of gaming and purchasing power is this thing right here. So the Atari console, okay. This is so good. Okay, so I'm going to run down the release year of the console and the price, whatever. Okay, check it out. The Atari 2600 released in 1977. It cost $200. Okay.
In the 70s.
In the 70s. That inflation rate is 258%. The actual cost in today's money, I think this was even written like in 2000, I don't know what year this was written in, 2013, $771
Good heavens.
for that console. The Xbox, the PlayStation 3, oh my God. The PlayStation 3 released in 2006. You know for how much?
was it
Wasn't it
600?
$600?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I remember.
dude.
I remember.
Oh my God. I did not even
I
realize
remember
that.
freaking out about it. Yeah. $600.
$600.
That's why nobody bought
Okay.
one.
Yeah, the
So
NES released 1985. It was $199. That's $434 in today's money. And they go to the games too, and how the games were like the games. Your $70 that you spent on games for the N64, because N64 games are $70, would be $100 in today's money.
Yeah, that's
So-
why
It's like a
games
special
had to last
edition.
forever, dude.
Yeah.
Because you only got 2 a year.
Yep.
I got one for birthday and one for Christmas, man.
That's it.
That's right, dude. That's right.